That's the prosecutor. That's the magistrate, the chief magistrate, who then says, "I don't want to push it down your throat, but if I have to, I will." This is after the prosecutor said, "I will not be able to make it to court." So much about this case is just there's so many absurdities, and very little makes sense from what happened yesterday in court. Let's take some of your calls. Renee, you're in Kensington. You want to weigh in. Good morning.
Hi, good morning, Kgomotso. Thank you for taking my call. So, interesting about this matter. So, it was just by chance on Sunday evening, I was watching Checkpoint. I never ever do. And I was watching this situation, this case of Sibanyoni threatening people in Mpumalanga, in Kwaggafontein. And I even called my son to come and listen to the story of how brazenly, taxi drivers get shot dead. It's like 11, taxi drivers. And then I see this Sibanyoni guy, and he apparently wants to run taxis from Pretoria to Mpumalanga, and then he wants to pick up people in Mpumalanga and take them back to Pretoria. And the people from the other taxi group say, but when we transport people to Pretoria, our taxis come back empty.
Yeah.
This guy, and they know the car, they know who the car is, they've seen the car several times, and these guys are brazenly killing taxi drivers. But the thing that stands out for me about this court, and then of course Monday morning is the court case, and I see, I watched the news last night and I see here Sibanyoni and 3 other goons in the dock, and they're standing with sunglasses in the dock like they're celebrities. And I'm like, what the hell? How can this happen? Now, I don't know, is the prosecutor scared? Was the prosecutor paid off? But something is wrong about the magistrate as well.
Yep.
The magistrate just struck the case off the roll. And then, of course, the other thing that puzzles me is I see Sean Abrams sitting there, and he's not even wearing his black robe, and he addresses the magistrate.
Yeah.
There's a lot wrong with this case, and I was totally blown. I even called my son to come and watch, come and see what is happening here. I could not believe it. I just could not believe it.
Yeah. I love that you point these things out, because these are some of the things that stood out for me. The fact that the men that were in the dock wore shades. They were allowed to wear shades throughout proceedings. I've heard magistrates and judges saying, if those are not prescription glasses, take them off.
It's unbelievable. I cannot believe something is not right here. Something is definitely not right here. It's this whole matter is just unbelievable. It's just shocking.
And Renee, you are sharp.
In so many other cases, magistrates will postpone cases. How does this magistrate just struck it off the roll? It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
It does not make sense.
Renee, thank you so much. I've got more calls coming in, but thank you so much for that contribution. Renee is sharp because he even saw that Sean Abrams was derobed during this matter. And I also found that to be interesting. Where was his robe? He was addressing the court with a suit and tie. I found that to be very, very odd. Kabelo, you are in Pretoria. Thank you so much for your call. Good morning.
Kgomotso, good morning. How are you?
I'm very well, Abuti. Go ahead.
I'm good. Maybe just to start with correcting the previous caller.
Yeah.
And maybe enlighten whoever is listening. So Abrahams is an advocate, a senior counsel for that matter. So when you appear before the magistrate, and that would be a lower court, advocates are allowed to just wear a suit in court. So there's nothing sinister with his appearance yesterday.
Yeah.
He's allowed to wear the way he was dressed.
Is this just in magistrate's court? Because
he can in the high court he'll have to robe.
Yes, I'm aware of that. Okay. Yes.
Yeah. So in the magistrate's court he was properly dressed. There's nothing wrong.
Okay.
But let's get back to the case. And you'll excuse my ignorance. I do not know whether the prosecutor has surfaced or not. But all that we know was that the last time the control prosecutor spoke to the incumbent, he said that he was on his way. Now we don't know what happened afterwards.
Yes.
But you correctly pointed out that the control prosecutor was then supposed to be in charge.
Yes.
Doesn't have to do the case itself, but to take charge in a sense that to address the court and not address the court in chambers, but to address the court, come into court and say, look, this is what we are faced with. We cannot find the prosecutor, and there's no hurry in this case. And you've made mention of who the accused person is and how sensitive this matter is. What I think should have happened was for the control prosecutor to take charge, and I thought a matter of this magnitude, you wouldn't have one man dealing with this kind of a case, but that you'll have a legal team.
Yeah.
And for control prosecutor to say, magistrate, this is our situation. Can we at least roll over the matter to tomorrow? Because we don't know where the prosecutor is. Anything could have happened, be it a car accident or anything could have happened. But to strike the matter off the roll, I think that the magistrate was too quick to rush to that ruling.
Yeah.
But that it should have adjourned at least to today. I mean, those guys have been in there for 7 days. There was no harm having an extra day, so that we can certainly find out as to where the prosecutor is, why is the prosecutor not in court.
Yeah.
And maybe today, and just maybe today, I would have agreed with the magistrate to have the matter struck off.
Kabelo, thank you so much for your call. I mean, many things that I agree with you on there, particularly around the fact that why is there no prosecutions team? But also, I do think that the magistrate was far too quick in striking the matter off the roll. We're going to be speaking to Kaizer Kganyago, who's the spokesperson of the NPA. He's holding on the line, and we'll talk to him after this.
You're with Clement Manyathela.
702. Let's walk the talk.
It's the Clement Manyathela show. My name is Kgomotso Modise. I'm in for Clem this morning. Let's go to NPA spokesperson Kaizer Kganyago, who's on the line. Kaizer, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for coming onto the show.
Good morning, Kgomotso, and good morning to your listeners.
I think I just want to start with, do we know where Mkhuseli Ntaba is?
Yeah, the prosecutor will be meeting with the director of prosecutions in the province today, so that we get the report of what really transpired. But we are told that they will meet this morning.
So he has surfaced?
Yeah, there's an impression that he had disappeared, but that's not necessarily the case. But we will have to hear after the report is sent to us, because I am not aware that he had disappeared.
Mkhuseli Ntaba seems to have been the only prosecutor working on this case, Kaizer. From Friday, we heard that there was already friction with the magistrate. Is there a reason why there isn't a prosecution's team leading this case against Joe Sibanyoni and 3 others?
It is not always the case. We always have one prosecutor that deals with the matter, because it was just a bail application that they were involved in, and there was nothing that was saying we need to beef up that matter, and that's why we always have, because as you might know, there are cases in all the courts every day. Therefore, the chances of having more than one, it's not always feasible.
But I struggle with you saying there was no need to beef it up, Kaizer, because we heard already on Friday that the prosecutor said he's not available. Now, in my understanding and in my experience, I've seen multiple prosecutors on a case. For example, Fani Nkosi, there's multiple prosecutors there. And when the one can't make it, we've seen other prosecutors stepping in. Why was that not done here?
Yeah, but that like I said, there was nothing. In a case where there is a need for that to happen, they do. But in this particular instance, there was no reason. But also, responding to what you said, when the prosecutor says, I'm not available on a certain day, usually in any court that I have been in, and you have been there, Kgomotso, yourself, then they will make arrangement for another date, so that the suitability of all the people that are involved is taken into consideration. Therefore, that is why, from where we are sitting, we are now in the process of trying to get that transcript from the court on Friday and yesterday, so that we are able to understand what really happened, because this, for us, looks like it's bigger than just the prosecutor not appearing in court.
Is the NPA considering laying a complaint against the prosecutor, or flagging, not the prosecutor, the magistrate? Are you considering flagging the magistrate for her conduct?
If the information that we'll get from the transcripts take us that way, we will take it further to the higher courts, or also to the Magistrates Commission, if we find that. Therefore, at the moment, it's not something that we can say we're definitely going to do, because we are going to then get the transcript. The NDPP has requested for the transcript of those 2 days, so that we understand what really happened. You would have known, for example, that in every matter you would find that when there is a date that needs to be finalized for a matter, then they will ask the lawyers who are in there, the prosecutor, whether they are available, and then they will work on a feasible date that they are available. Therefore, that is standard practice, and it looks like it wasn't done in this case.
The friction here and the tension between the prosecutor and the magistrate had been brewing from Friday, Kaizer. If you were to see the footage from the appearance on Friday, it was clear. I mean, we played a recording earlier where the magistrate says that she doesn't want to push this down his throat, but if she must, she will. Was the NPA head office aware of this at all? Because it seems as though you were caught by surprise yesterday when this has been going on since Friday.
You must remember that this matter is handled by the DPP in Mpumalanga. Therefore, we were not aware of what transpired on Friday. And then when this thing happened, which is something that had never happened before in the history of the NPA, ever since the NPA was established. Therefore, it's something that really was a surprise to us, but also something that was very concerning to the National Director of Public Prosecution.
You know, Kaizer, I'd be okay with this answer if this wasn't a matter of such high profile. It's a high profile matter where we've got Joe Sibanyoni, who is alleged to be a notorious criminal. That's what's been alleged at the Madlanga Commission. And it seems the NPA head office, which should be paying attention, I understand it's the work of the DPP, but should be paying attention to this, was almost caught sleeping. That's what it sounds like to me.
No, it wasn't. You must remember that there are many high-profile cases that happen at any given time. Therefore, we are confident of the work that our DPPs are doing. And like I said, this was we are not even getting into the merit of the case. We're just dealing with the bail application. Therefore, we never expected anything to go wrong, and we just looking at it to be finalized as quickly as possible, like it happens. Therefore, we are focusing on all of the cases. You must remember, the case that he is brought to court on is not related to what is happening at Madlanga Commission. It's just a normal case that is happening. Therefore, that would not have caused any alarm on our side until something like that happened.
Kaizer, I've run out of time, but I must ask you, according to News 24, they're reporting that the complainant now says they fear for their lives. They say that they feel deeply let down by the criminal justice system. What's the NPA's response to this?
Yeah, we are really concerned because the reputation of the NPA is at stake, but not only of the NPA, but also of the criminal justice system. Therefore, that is why the National Director moved so quickly yesterday to make sure that all of these things are dealt with. And then we want to finalize this matter and understand what really happened by today so that we can re-enroll this matter, because it's important that it be re-enrolled.
All right. Thank you so much for your time. That's Kaizer Kganyago, the spokesperson of the NPA. I mean, yeah, there's a lot coming from that. I think there's a lot that's wrong from what happened here yesterday, but we'll have more on that after the news headlines.
Hanging out with Clement
on 702.
Let's walk the talk.